As written, Acid Splash is really just a wizard wafting a fart over inside of 60 feet and hoping for the best. Cantrip usable by sorcerers, wizards, and artificers, Acid Splash is one of those that feels like it should be a little more. Coming from the school of conjuration and out of the player's handbook, Acid Splash has the ability to do 1d6 damage as a cantrip out of the gate. In most cases, you can only target one creature with Acid Splash, but in some cases when they're next to each other, you can target up to two. It's when they're within 5 feet of each other, so think about it as they're adjacent, you're able to splash this acid over there, and really it's hurl a bubble of acid. So that's where in my dumb brain, it's like, oh, this is like just putting a fart into your hand and go, just blowing it over there at them. So when you do have the two creatures, you're only rolling for damage once, so you're not rolling 2 damage dice. As cantrip, in this case, Acid Splash, you don't need to roll to hit, but the creatures that you are targeting do get a saving throw. One of the benefits here is that it is a Dexterity saving throw. Dexterity saving throws are one of the better saving throws to work against in D&D. When you look through the monsters manual, you have about 100 up to CR2 monsters that, dexterity-wise, they're not going to be able to add much to this saving throw. The DC for Acid Splash is set by the spellcaster, and that is calculated by 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your spellcasting ability modifier. At lower levels, this is going to be real tough for those CR1 or less monsters, so it definitely is a bit more helpful than I initially thought. When I initially read through Acid Splash, I was like, this is just a fart. But when you think about it, the ability to do 1d6 damage, it becomes a bit better over time. Now, this is one of 6 spells within D&D that does acid damage. Another benefit here is that not many monsters have resistances or immunities to acid damage itself. Damage-wise for Acid Splash, it is 1d6 damage. That dex save, if the creature makes it, is not going to take any of the damage. The same way it is with all of the cantrips, you either take all of it or you take none of it. In Acid Splash's case, it is 1d6 of acid damage. Now this increases by 1d6 at 5th level, 11th level, and 17th level. At 5th level, that 2d6 becomes pretty compelling. That's 2d6 that you can do without burning a spell slot at all. As mentioned, there aren't too many of these creatures that have immunity or resistance to acid damage. A lot of them end up being either dragons or other creatures that are using that same damage type, or anything that's incorporeal. So your ghouls, your specters, your wraiths, they're not going to take acid damage because they don't exist. They're not real. They don't have a body. Past that, most of the creatures are just going to have to take this damage because they don't have the ability to not take it. So it's a powerful cantrip at higher levels, especially once you get to that 2d6 mark at 5th level. But prior to that, and especially at lower levels, you might be better off just throwing a rock. Depending on your DM, it's 1d4 bludgeoning damage, plus strength, and maybe another modifier in there as well. So you may end up doing the same amount of damage. You still have to roll to hit, but again, with Acid Splash, when you cast that, they have the ability to save against it. As one of the core elemental types of damage in D&D, I think acid damage is severely underserved in what it can do. You think about acid damage, this is the stuff where in chemistry in high school, they were like, don't get this in your eyes. But when I hurl a bubble of acid at a creature, it just does a little bit of damage. Like where's the damage to the eyeballs? Where is the corrosiveness aspect to it? I think if someone wanted to target specifically the eyes, as a DM, I may be persuaded to allow them to hit the target directly in the eyes, blind them for another round. There's a dex save that goes against it anyway, so I'm willing to give it a shot. Personally, I like the description of Acid Splash a lot better in D&D 3.5. It says you hurl a missile of acid instead of hurling a bubble. So and there's something about the bubble aspect that I really just don't like in the description. In 3.5, though, the damage was halved. It was a 1d3, so you take your 1d6, you have that and round up, and that is what you end up with from the damage there. So it's still about the same in terms of damage it deals between versions. And as a cantrip, it is the only one that deals acid damage other than Primal Savagery, but that is reserved only for druids. So as DM, I really want this to do a lot more in terms of mechanically how it works. Maybe you can use it in puzzles. So you have a lock in the jail cell. Can you use acid damage to make it corrode and make it dissolve? Is there something else where only acid damage can resolve whatever you're trying to do? I think as DMs, we need to allow our players to get creative with how they're using the acid damage, make Acid Splash a bit more of an intriguing opportunity instead of just, well, all right, I'm going to do maybe this 3.5 points of damage, depending on if someone is good dexterity-wise or not and can roll out of the way of the fart bubble that I'm wafting over there. If you even cast Acid Splash at an empty space, like, I would maybe be okay with someone entering that space, taking a bit of that acid damage. It's not like it just goes on the ground and immediately disappears. So when you think about it from an actual physical perspective, I think it just has something to be desired, rules as written. How about you, though? As a DM or as a player, how have you seen Acid Splash work in your games? How would you like to see it work in your games? Let me know in the comments below.